level less than
1 at 0.
Will now be
recorded. And the goal is to go create a work stream to go finish it off. It's up to that work stream to determine what IP structure they want to work in. If Rama says, hey, we submitted it and now we're going to do the rest of it wide open, then he can go do that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
then the problem is that can get polluted, right? And then nobody can use it.
Right.
Yeah, update on that. Sorry, go ahead. Somebody's.
Oh, Rama's here.
Yeah.
So I think, and we've been talking, John. So I think we need to do some work maybe here to reconcile the two things at a high level, so we don't invent multiple ways of doing the same thing. And then once we sort that out, it could be that these two efforts to some degree merge, and we both have CLA. We use CLAs to we have some path forward for us to talk.
Yeah, I mean,
yes,
I don't want to end up with multiple things, right?
Me too.
Right. Like we're just recreating the same problem but in a different way, right?
I totally agree with you 100%, Vilas. And so that's why I'm a little nervous about this second thing, because it was done kind of outside of the work stream where the RAS API has been informed by what we're doing, and we brought it here to get feedback. So let's just see how it plays out. But I think we need to discuss that maybe here next week. But we're not defining the spec next week. We're just figuring out how to work together.
Yeah, definitely. We should leverage if there is common problems. I think on the GPU, the work stream started with three main goals. One is the RAS, other one is firmware updates, and third one is manageability. Okay, and the goal of this, don't have dates, but first thing is open up the 0.5 version of the specs for all three work streams. Okay, to the industry, open it. Okay, and then that is the current goals.
Well, I guess here's what I'm questioning, Rama, is do we need all the work streams? So let's figure out how to work together because we don't want a RAS API that can log things from GPUs and another RAS telemetry thing that logs things from GPUs. So what we've got to do is figure out how to merge these so that we don't get too spread out. We don't need two specs. We need kind of one.
Yeah, definitely. Is it currently RAS API focused on the CPU or is it broader?
No, it's not. It was intended from the start to support all sorts of devices. So that was one of the problem statements we worked on.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, so.
Oh, you guys, we can hear two of you. Yeah.
I'm getting echo. Yeah, I think I have something going on with my network. I'm sorry. I may be interjecting, or speaking over some of the folks. I apologize for that. But I think this is a problem that probably needs to be sorted out at the leadership level. We do have, although, opportunity to present what we feel is the right alignment for the issues that are being, proposed to be solved in these forums. So why don't we do this? Scott has already kind of started a little bit of work on that. And Rama, from what I remember, there was a tech talk about GPU enablement acceleration, and this work that is being proposed in the IC and a new work stream, which you want to bring it to this forum anyway, seems to be an extension of that work. So why don't we present a clear picture to hardware management leadership and the IC and let them sort it out for us. Situation.
Sorry, Yogesh. Sort out what precisely?
So number one, overlap of work. Number two, streamlining of what work goes in which work stream. Really in reality, it's a handful of us who are doing the work.
Yep.
It's just a matter of who is doing work where, and is the other person aware that there's another colleague of his from another company is doing similar work in another work stream. That's the problem, right?
Sort of, right?
So
Number two,
folks who
yeah,
have the folks who have better perspective on that, in my opinion, is the leadership, which is the hardware management and IT. So we should present to them that, hey, we feel that this work should be under RAS API, this work should be under hardware management, because we already done out of band, we want to do in band, we also want to do error injection, we already started work on that. So we believe that this work belongs in this. So all the folks who are proposing or making proposals to that effect should be redirected to this work group. Simple as that. Same for RAS API. Okay, there is already initiative which was presented to you, accepted, and work stream is starting. And this work closely overlaps with that. So those folks should be redirected to that. That's all, correct?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I mostly agree with you. I guess my question really though, right, is isn't it, I'll say us, but also whatever, the people in the RAS API and the people in Rama, I don't know I don't remember the title of what yours is, but the Redfish work that Rama was doing. Like, isn't it to some extent incumbent on the experts to make a proposal? Like, I guess that's my question, right? Like, I guess which work streams it is, like, sort of depends on, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So this,
Sorry,
so
go ahead,
this, John. So proposal by the experts would be very welcomed. We've
Okay.
already identified the fact that we were doing fault management. They start with CPU and it's going to off the memory, and all of a sudden RAS API appeared, and we said, hey, this right place for conflict to exist. We should kind of get them to talk to each other, and they were going off on their merry way, and they had talked to each other and figured it out. And all of a sudden, we have 3 GPU specifications that appeared. And yes, the discussion last week was, oh shit, now we have more uh, uh, possibilities of conflict. And the worst thing we could possibly do is to have conflicting specifications coming out of the same organization. So the leadership understands this, and so they are heightened in the fact that we have now 5 possible specifications in play with areas of possible conflict. So
Wait,
again,
five?
based on that, yes. So based on that, I would say yes. A recommendation would be welcomed. Yes, the 3 were actually 3 based on GPU. There's a GPU manageability interface spec. There's a GPU RAS specification, and there's a GPU fault firmware update specification that appeared on people's radars last week.
Yeah, I think that is presented like uh, 1.5 month back, first version, an incubation committee or some other meeting. The second one was like what John was mentioning, like 2 weeks back, presented in the incubation committee review. Okay, I think I think a few action items is like, hey, we want, like, first thing is we don't want to confuse. We are all one team, like trying to push the same standards. Like, let's see, like, how do we leverage that 2 work streams, like Drew, Yogesh, and let's take one action item on that and see, hey, how do we do it? Right now, they are under different SLAs, or sorry, CLAs. Let's see, like, what is put together, and like in the end we want to call name, right? We just want to change the name of it. Maybe, right? If it's like, if it is covering all the things, right? This is the main goal of this group, is to bring common industry standards, so that, like, whether the CSPs or enterprise customers can ask same request to silicon vendors, or silicon vendors want to implement all CSP enterprise requests, so that they don't want to do multiple implementations. Okay, I think, yeah, we are like all together in this. Let's do some follow up on the background and come back and support, give information to hardware management team, and then like a few action items too. Let's sync offline on the like with Antonio and see what is there, and
Drew, you muted, Drew, if you're trying to talk.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to mute to see if that would help with Yogesh's echoes. Yeah, so we need to chat. I'll also reach out to Sujoy because yeah, he's not a RAS person. He's more of a general
David,
purpose
David,
developer. So
David.
I
Do you know David? Drew?
well, I'm
He,
Sujoy Sen. Is that who you're working with?
Sujai and some part of the work streams. Other one is David Nito or something from Google. I'll share his email ID.
Okay, I will reach out to them and start working on this too internally. But uh, yeah, I don't know how this happened, but we just need to have one. We don't need yeah, we don't need four. So
Yes, yes, yes. I think
okay,
most of the confusion started with like all the CLA based work streams, right? Like licensing, and then yeah,
okay,
Yeah, those things, I mean, Rama, what you said is all the right, but it is more complex than that, right? I mean, there are CLAs and then there are duplication of effort that, although we say, yeah, in the end, we just have to get to one place, but if people are coming from various, and different work streams, it just makes it just so much more complicated. And then there's also, okay, Drew and Rama and who else is aside the CLN involved in the API? I think you guys have a action item to sort it out, at least that aspect. Now then we have the work that is already taking place in this work stream, which is about error injection, and we are trying to do it comprehensive. So it should cover GPUs also, among other things. So that would be second one. And another overlap that we have with our work stream is about the in-band work. Error handling is something that we have been talking about for a while, and Anil and Scott have reached out to the CSM. So that's something that also needs to be sorted out. So yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think what we need to do is somehow get the visibility that if someone comes and says, "Hey, I'm doing something with RAS," that we have a chance to have a discussion, to figure out the best way to proceed. And that doesn't mean we don't do things. It just means we have to talk a little bit more to make sure we're in sync.
yeah, and good points. And one more thing is like, how do we within the companies there are proposals like how does it go through same channels, so that for example like avoid this internally starting different work streams like for Microsoft for now, like our team, me and they'll reach out to me on the RAS topics generally. Okay, whether it's a GPU or like there's a RAS API CLA, it came to us and we are trying to sign that. Okay, like it comes to us. I think maybe Drew, please sync with Sujay and David and see and also I think Kola from CSM or something, right? In band, right?
Well, I'm aligned with yeah, George and I are I think aligned. George Cola. I'm not so sure about David and I think they're trying to start something new, not knowing that something's already moving. So we'll just have to chat and pull
I
them into
mentioned
the.
actually when they started that, I mentioned your name actually. Like, hey, Drew is a industry RAS veteran and works in Google. I mentioned your name. Maybe they
Yeah,
didn't know different team or
Right,
I know who
Rama,
they are. Well,
David
I
who?
know.
Yeah.
What's David's last name?
Yen and Neot or Let me ping you exactly.
Okay, I will work on that internally, but then we do need to talk with with Antonio and others and just get our story straight.
David
Rama,
Munia.
what you say about individual, companies, that's internal to those companies. But ideally, there would be some kind of dashboard or a center person who would know what initiatives are going to industry standard bodies from the company, ideally, right? So that should be a kind of a clearing house, if you would, for the various proposals, which may be competitive sometimes. So
Yeah.
to be coming out of the company, right?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I think, that also brings the clarity. Yeah, thank you. I think good discussion so far. Drew, I sent you the last name, first name
Got
and
it. I
last.
thank you so much. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Okay. Great. Thank you.
And then, sorry, logistical question. Is there, Rama, I guess I still don't quite have clarity on this. Is there a CLA that we can sign for your document, or do we have to wait until you've contributed the 0.5 spec and then we can sign a CLA against it? I just literally have no idea how
Uh,
this works.
no CLA for now. Okay. That the 0.5 specs will be released, because of that's why they're trying to sign that, hey, no IP is there, they want to release it. Okay, for 0.5 specs across the 3 GPU work streams, they will be releasing that 0.5 spec open. Okay, and
Right.
if there is
So further
others,
work on the 1.5 spec to get the 1.0. What is the IP infrastructure for that?
yes, that is a good question. I had that question and we discussed it internally. The goal is to get out of CLAs when we don't know yet. It is at after 0.7. Still work discussions in progress. The goal is to not to have CLAs for this. By when it is they're discussing under the we'll get more clarity next month. I think.
Why is the goal to not have CLAs?
No. See, once you contribute to 0.5 spec villas, okay,
Yeah.
then it become open, right? Okay. Do we continue to operate
No,
under?
it doesn't. No.
Oh, that's
Wait,
not
stop.
how I
No, it
understand
doesn't.
it.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe I did not
So
finish the. I did not finish the. Maybe let me give you what I understood, John. You can correct
okay,
me. You're the expert in this. Okay. You release the point.
Oh, I
After
just lost.
that. Oh, okay. After
Yeah.
that, whether we can, there is two options: continue to operate under CLA and work on 0.7 1.0. Okay. Other option is like uh, if all the parties who are in CLA agree on a certain date to become a open, no more CLA after that. Okay, that kind of discussions are going on. Okay, and that I don't have clarity, John. Yeah, that is the
but that I don't know if that will work because okay, I don't know who's guiding you on your IP infrastructure. I hope Michael Schill is. But what happens is if it comes out in, let's say, 0.5, and you say, hey, we signed the CLA for this. The CLA just protects the people who are bringing contributions in. Okay. At the end of the CLA, an FSA is signed. At 1.0, an FSA is signed, which is the final spec agreement. Final spec agreement is to protect the vendor who picks the spec up and says, I want to go implement it, because it says those who have contributed it freely gave away their IP, and you will not be sued if you take the spec and go utilize it. Okay, so you contribute a document at 0.5. It's got to get to 1.0. So what is the IP infrastructure for all that intellectual property that may go in between 0.5 and 1.0? And usually what happens is four or five companies get together and sign some CLA, they write some document, they get it to a point because small groups work faster, right? They get it to a spec and then they can contribute it and say, okay, everything we've done so far, it's free open, guys. Okay, so then you create another CLA to take it to 1.0. And now you open up to 12, a dozen people, companies to all come in and say, okay, I've got some additional IP I got to put in there. Yes, I will sign the CLA to take input intellectual property into 0.05 and on, and I promise to sign the FSA when this thing comes out. So at the end, when you get to 1.0, you've got 12 companies, all who've put in IP. They can't keep track of it, right? And so they've all said, okay, we got 1.0, all 12 of us will sign this thing. And so once that's done and contributed, then any person, company after that can pick up the spec and say, great, 12 people companies have provided IP into this and they freely gave it away. And so none of them are going to come sue me. And that's the way we did DCSCM. Is that, and that's why it started with like 3 companies and it's blown out to like 16 companies because everyone had IP in there, and we want to make sure whoever built a DCSCM didn't get sued because they took the spec and built something from it.
Yeah, I mean, Rama, just to be blunt, I think you want to do that with the spec as well, right? Because there's lots of us here, and I'm willing to bet that, you know, Google and I mean, I know AMD and Intel and others have, you know, lots of IP around RAS, right? And if any of
Yes.
us make a change that may involve some of that IP, the FSA is protecting anyone who's going to use, like John said, right? Like, is protecting the users of that spec, right? So I would suggest that we, you know, we follow that basic.
Yeah, definitely. I think like we'll invite some kind of like I think John is the first main expert here. Okay, on particular GPU work stream, we'll try to invite somebody. Okay, and answer these questions. Maybe like give me some time. Okay, and okay, thank you. Yeah, like I'm not the expert here. More I focus on technology than this. Yeah, like let's invite somebody like who can give updates on this. Any
Okay.
stuff like I'm
So
asking.
sorry, Rama.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, thank you.
So before we move on to our next topic in the regular agenda, I think one thing I want to ask John. John, I know you said that there has been a discussion and leadership is aware of this possibility of duplication and multiple efforts. Do you still feel or want this group to make either via email or a quick presentation for discussion about what initiatives have already started here, which are overlapping with other work groups? Do you think that will help?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's plan it for our next monthly meeting, regular monthly meeting. I think that should be coming in a week, is it? For hardware management monthly meeting, or have you already missed that one for this one?
I can
John, I'm
I
asking
can
you.
close with the hardware management project leads what they would like.
Okay, all right then. Let us know, please. Thank you.
But basically, when it was presented to IC, right, about this GPU RAS, man, I brought the time. Hey, what about our Raspberry API? It's already in play. Have you been talking to him, right? And the answer was no. We couldn't move on to CLA, and now it's at the IC, so it's more public, and we can talk about it. So yeah, I sent them off the RAS API and said, you guys better be aligned, man, because if you guys aren't aligned, we're in trouble, right?
Yeah, we're
And
not aligned. And well, and it's some of the
we
same
favor
companies.
generality.
So some of the same companies even, and that's the problem is, sorry, it's the same company. We could have been talking to each other. So yes, this is a little bit messed up. So I will work on it.
Yeah, Drew and RAS API, who are all signed so far? CLA?
Well, so I'm sorry. What's the question?
And RAS API, who are all signed the CLA so far?
I think
I don't
we're
think that's
about.
information. I don't think that's information you can provide.
Provide.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
I think okay. I'm going to defer to John. Because he understands this better than I do. So, I'm sorry. I'm happy to chat about, but I think I better defer to John.
And actually, just to check my understanding, John, why is that not information that is providable?
Because I'm conservative, and I don't know. I'm finding a text to Michael Show now, because we are in. I know with the RAS API, the CLA is out. We're waiting
Mhm.
for signatures from and so I don't know whether you can use the fact that, hey, they signed it, you better go sign it. Is something that's available. I know with DCSEM, I think they were more public about it. So I don't know if there's a general policy about whether you can share who signed it and who doesn't sign it. I would think, as a company, I wouldn't want that information, until we go to the first day and we say, okay, here's all the people who've signed it. We start, and then we notify everybody. This is the existing CLA group, right? Because we said a minimum of 4. These were the 4. We start, right? Anyone wants to sign, go on in, but you now know what the 4 are.
John, we will know like only when they submit to incubation committee, or is that correct?
Ask that again.
Like we will know when they go to incubation committee with the first revision of the spec. OCP
No.
incubation committee.
Well,
That is
you will know who the existing CLA is signed by. So let's
yes.
talk about this CPU GPU RAS, right? It was signed already, right? And they brought it to 0.5. They contributed to IC. So that's all public information now, right? Because they signed it, or the 0.5, that's public. Now, if the question is, all right, now they're gonna go from 0.5 to 1.0, and they're gonna do this new work under another CLA, right? You assume the first 3, they might say, hey, when we get to 5, we'll launch the secondary work stream to go take it from 0.5 to 1.0. I don't know if during that time frame you can say, okay, we need 5. Have we got 5? And who are those? Who are the 4 that have signed so far, right? And so we go have the 5th one. You can probably say, yeah, 4 have signed. We need 5. 4 have signed, and that's all I'm going to tell you. And so you, as a company, can decide: do I want to sign or do I not want to sign? Is the door about to close and they're going to launch this thing and I can sign, I can sign after it launches. But if you want to be the first min 5, then you can make that decision.
Yeah. No, I got it. Thank you, John. What I was asking is, let's say
Why?
once they go to
Why? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
one second, Devesh. Like once they go to, let's say, when somebody under CL agreements, okay, when they go to OCP incubation committee and present it, that is a public information. That time you will know who are all part of that particular work group
Yes.
under CL. Yeah, that's what I meant. Like,
Right.
yeah. Like
Yeah. That's what I thought you meant. That's why there's this distinction about pre 0.5 CLA signers and the post 0.5 signers.
Yes. Yeah, that's why
Yeah, I
RAS
think
API.
Ram. Yeah, sorry. I think Rama, you wanted to know because you want to understand if there is overlap between the work that's proposed, because the companies are not aware. And I think, suffices to say that yes, your suspicion is probably right. There is probably a lot of overlap. But anyway, moving on to our regular agenda, 40 minutes into this. I'm sorry I joined in late today. One thing I wanted to remind everyone of was that by next week I want to answer on that final version of requirements document with the new, the common Creative Commons legal disclaimer and all that. By next week, if I could know that, okay, we are good to go ahead, then proceed to the next step. And with that, Vilas, any question?
I was just going to say I'm not 100% certain AMD can have an answer on that by next week. I'm trying, but I don't know.
Sure.
We've got internal processes that I've got to clear, so we'll just see.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate that. Other than that, if there are no other opens, please, anyone, if there are opens, then bring them up now. Otherwise, we'll move to the doc that we had started with.
So
Drew
I think,
was sharing last week.
yeah, I'll put it back up.
Drew, maybe we can give 30 seconds to anyone else who might have any other open. We can start.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was a little bit muffled. Is it okay to start, or do you want me to wait?
I just wanted to give people a chance to say anything if they want to, if they have any other open, then we can start. One more announcement I wanted to do, and I think we need to do that, is we probably want to have a discussion about all the submissions that are made for the Global Summit. I think besides the ones that I was part of, or I said we'll make, there are others also that we probably are not aware of. One, I think, Anil, you discussed a little bit already. That was about the Invent solution with George Kola. Rama, I thought you said there is something that you submitted also. So I think it will be good to, next time, it will be good to have a discussion about all the submissions that are made for Global Summit. Okay.
Yeah. Like Yogesh, I agree. Like before you joined, we just discussed and planned for next week discussion.
Okay. Sorry, I was late today. So.
No problem. No, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay. So I put the doc up. I added a problem statement. So just said we need air injection tools for testing our fault management solutions. Current solutions are useful but not sufficient. This describes our requirements for air injection tools and proposals for making these tools more useful. So hopefully that's not too controversial. Okay. In the absence of feedback. So I just want to mention, okay, we've been talking about terms, air injection versus air spoofing. I have some thoughts about how air injection is done, with faulty hardware all the way to, like EINJ or software actions. You can just read a non-existent function and get a UR response. So please take a look. I talked a little bit about security, performance requirements, general coverage requirements, taxonomy. And so, and this is just a kind of a proposed taxonomy on my part. I'm very open to feedback. If someone wants to come rework it, I need to make it a table probably, because I think like a register file parity error. I mean, I'm making that up. That's just, register file is a classic risk.
Sorry. Hey, Drew. I'm still seeing the problem statement. Am I
Yeah.
the
Same here.
I'm so sorry. I was scrolling through on the
Okay.
wrong tab.
Yep.
I have the document open multiple times. Thank you.
All right, there we go. Okay, thank you. Yep.
Thank you for speaking up. So I probably want to make this a table, and this just needs a lot of work. So if a CPU expert wants to come and help me generalize this, I would be thrilled. And like sometimes these imply severity. If you say the word parity, and you get a parity error, usually it's uncorrected. Sometimes you can refetch a cache line or something if it's you have a upper level cache parity error. But I'm trying to generalize, uncore interconnect, or maybe uncore is a bad term. But I'm trying to come up with general ways to describe the taxonomy, because we can then make abstraction layers with it, and try to make it as easy to use across different products as possible. The other thing that I listed all these PCIe link errors and classes and types of errors. Anil did something that I thought was really useful in putting it. That's why this is one of the reasons why I want to put my stuff in a table, is because I saw what Anil did. So thumbs up, Anil. And so, we're just talking about, like, how do we talk about errors that we want to inject? Anil, I'm not 100% bought off on having the meta error code become the standard for it, but I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion, but we can chat about that. But I would encourage people to take a look and weigh in. But I love the table. I think the table's useful.
Yeah. Can you just describe the first three
regarding
columns?
the error code?
I'm just unclear on what they're actually describing, right?
Sorry, the first what?
The first three columns, like
Oh,
It says
okay.
bit
Yeah,
4, bit 5.
the
Like,
header of
oh,
the table. Yeah, the header of the table, right? What
I can
does
clarify.
Yeah, that's a good call. And it's so Neil, this is a question to you, and I believe that like bit 4 is it's the PCI AER bit number for that error, right?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go for it. It's all yours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so first two columns, or rather I would say first column is coming straight from the spec. The offset is from the AER capability, which is the unencrypted status register. And the bit is the bit value that is defined in the spec for a given error type. Okay.
Oh, is it okay if I just say like AER bit value then? Is that right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, I mean that'll just cue
I,
people in. They see AER, they know then
so
where to look.
basically, the second column is really the hex representation because it becomes easier when we write our tools to use this as a mask. So therefore, this column is relevant. The third column is the error code because all these errors are very verbose, right? And you know, several words are used, and often we try to change the wordings also. And if we use a text only in our tooling, it can break if somebody changes from receive to receive or PCI Express to PCIe, things like that. So we always prefer to use error codes. That is one sort of thought process. Second is whenever we are sending the messages, let's say from SMM to the BMC or BMC to kernel or kernel to BMC, either using IPMI like syntax or any kind of, even in CPR, right? We prefer to use a binary code rather than using the verbose text. Now, someone who actually then eventually presents the error information to our tooling, that time they'll translate that into verbose. So therefore, error code is very, very critical for our own, for our infrastructure.
So that's just a meta, that's your own meta's whatever private error codes, right? That's not a PCI spec.
Right.
Okay.
It could be anything, right? But we just want to kind of put some line on the sand saying, hey, this is what we are using. And if and this is not like a mandatory requirement that everybody has to implement it. It's just a recommendation to adopt or not adopt. Doesn't matter. Or if somebody has any other suggestion for any other error code, that's fine too.
Yep. And sorry, what is offset for? Is that the uncorrectable error status offset in the PCR capability, or is that like a meta thing as well?
No, capability. Yeah. So if you look at the spec, right, when you start from the capability pointer, uncorrected status is offset for.
Yep. Okay. Got it. All right. Thanks. I just want to understand it. Thank you.
Yeah. And the CVD is also something I want to clarify. The last one. So then description is coming straight from the spec. I think some verbiage might be slightly different depending upon wherever we found that the spec is not very clear. We try to modify that description. And then after that, the next column is the category, which is pretty self-explanatory. The CVD, the last one, is something spec defines certain errors as fatal versus non-fatal. And in our meta infrastructure, we have kind of revised that value. So I think the CVD one, we can leave it as a representative because it may change depending upon the implementation and the scope of the error handling in a given platform.
I mean, the PCIe spec typically makes these programmable, right? So there's not a fixed severity for each of these errors.
That's right.
So this is just again, this is like meta policy choices in this case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So Neil, could you take the things that you just said and put them in the document so that a person that didn't hear you say it would be able to follow what you put? I mean, I'm not being critical. I'm just saying, if you wrote that, that would be helpful for others that look at the doc.
Yeah, sure. I can do that.
So question, Anil, if these are injection sessions, right? So why do we have to, since severity is programmable anyway, why do we have to define severity here in the injection type?
Depending upon the severity, the error flow, right? Again, the purpose of
But that is
injection.
programmable, right? So that doesn't mean anything, because we may say, okay, this injection, if you set this bit, it will be, data link protocol error, which we think can be fatal, but that's just what we think because we have configured system one way. It could be anything else. So why should we even dictate that severity here? It's the injection
Yeah.
suggestion, right?
Yeah. This is not. This column is not like dictating. Right? So yeah, it's more.
I mean, even suggesting is like it's
Well,
totally
I mean, at the very
doesn't make.
least, we should follow the spec, because the spec actually has defined default severity settings. Right?
sort of.
And,
Yeah, so Neil, I'm actually really interested in discussing this with you. I'm very interested in the severity column, but like Yogesh says, maybe not as part of the air injection, but maybe we have some PCI, a separate, like here's how we want to set up PCIe errors, because what happens for us is that depending on who gave us the BIOS, the PCI severities are set way differently. Some hero comes in and fixes the BIOS to work with our OSs and drivers and PCI cards to reconcile any weird problems we find. But then it's always hit or miss, right? What problems are going to bite us because we don't have this defined well enough. So I'm actually pretty interested in talking about PCI error handling, but maybe not in the context. Like maybe that's a separate discussion from injection is all. But I love the idea. I'm all with you on like
yeah.
making this clear because PCI spec is not prescriptive enough.
Yeah. So if we delete that, then one of the challenges is going to be that for every error injection, right, the tooling need to then support both ways, like fatal and non-fatal. So it's just increases the burden on the tooling implementation and validation recipes and the time it takes to verify each of this error type.
Well, if I make so let's just pick an error. But if I make I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to make a UR fatal, and there's no. I mean, it is fatal to the link, or it's an uncorrectable error. It should be non-fatal. But if I make a UR fatal, that's my silly choice. It's a silly choice because any driver that walks a PCI bus and finds a function that isn't there is going to get a UR. But if I choose to do that, and I have a tool that injects a UR, it doesn't really matter if I've made it fatal or if I've made it correctable. Um, the tool is injecting a UR. See, so injecting is separate from the consumption of it and the logging of it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
well,
we're
I
not.
think Drew, I think what you're saying is, you're implicitly assuming the injection follows the severity that is pre-programmed. Anil's table is perhaps saying the injection should specify the severity at which to be programmed, right? Those are two different approaches. We just need to decide on,
Yeah,
which one
I think
one of
that.
them requires, right?
Yeah, I
How
would
would
argue this.
how would injection do that? How would injection do that? I'm not clear.
But
How
the
would
entity of
injection?
so as to take Drew's example, the entity that is doing the injection would go in and flip the bit in the severity register that said you are to fatal, and then do whatever bit writings that it needs to do in order to do the injection. That's how.
And I'd like to.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
one way of doing it, right? There might be other ways. I can implement hardware that would do that in a completely separate way, but like whatever, right? I mean, there's other ways of doing it, right? So.
well,
Yeah,
and like
I would.
let me clarify something. Yogesh has a good point. So the CVD is really platform specific, whereas the error injection tooling should be agnostic to the CVD setting. So I'm with Yogesh. So from an error injection tooling point of view, right, CVD should not be even relevant. So I'm with that. Now, having said that, if other approach, as I think Vilas is saying, if we want to define the error injection tooling where we pass the CVD information as well, so that as we are verifying a platform, we can verify both ways, then the CVD will become relevant to specify as a part of the error injection tooling requirements.
Yeah, I guess my vote is air injection just injects the air, and that's it. And and then what we're doing is that's part of the testing, right? We inject an air, it's just pure injection, and then we make sure our solution behaves however we expected it to behave, and that means we could turn a corrected memory error into PCC equals one fatal, the machine burned down, don't ever use it again error. If that's what our solution wants to do, we can do it. We just inject a corrected error, we get a corrected error, and we have to make sure we got the severity that we wanted.
Yeah, I
What
think
Vilas is saying,
I
what
agree.
Vilas
I
and
agree.
Anu are saying may have a use case in future. I mean, in future there may be a place for that. But I
So
think
yeah,
just
sorry.
to
To be
borrow a
clear,
popular
I agree with
phrase
Drew.
from,
Yeah.
just
To be,
to borrow a
I
popular
agree with
phrase.
I agree with Drew in what he's saying,
I-
right? I just was trying to like articulate what I thought the table might be trying to say, right? I do want to bring up maybe a slight counterexample, right? Which is, I mean, named on severity, but let's say there's a threshold and it's set to 2, and then you inject an error, you inject one error, and then like you see no platform response, right? That gets very complicated to deal with. So there are cases where you may want the injection, you may want the injection to have a deterministic response, right? And
Yeah, or
that's
Neil,
just,
I
yeah.
would counter that example by saying we may want the tool to confirm that it injected the error correctly.
Yeah, but it depends on what you're trying to do, right? If you're trying to measure the system response, you're going to inject an error, get no system response, and then, okay, is that because your system response is broken? No, I'm just saying it gets harder.
Correct. But let me explain. If I inject it like a UR, okay, from a fault management solution, I probably, since software gets URs for probing, maybe I want that sent to the OS, but maybe I don't want that sent to our out-of-band logging solution. If that's the case, then I would inject it and get nothing and expect nothing. But
All
if
right,
the
that's fair. Yeah.
injection tool injected and said, I really did inject it, I've confirmed that I injected it, I am sure, and then we got nothing, that gives me confidence that our out-of-band solution worked and we didn't create a weird condition that's going to swamp our system when some software does probing.
All right. Yeah, that's
guys,
fair. I
guys,
mean, I
guys,
guess I would just
I
caution.
agree.
I would just hold on. Sorry, Yogesh, hold on. I would just caution Drew that I've seen cases where thresholds are set relatively high, and that makes it extraordinarily difficult for validation. But if your point is, set up the system in some way and then test the system as exactly as it's set up, I agree with that. Right?
That's my point. Yeah.
So guys,
Yeah, that's fine.
So guys, I agree with everything that's being said. What I was trying to say earlier was to quote, paraphrase Drew, who generally says crawl, walk, run. We are at a stage of defining error types. The further details could be added at later stage, and I do agree that there are places where we want to be more prescriptive. But in the definition, I think we can be a little bit more liberal. And then as we see the cases that are common and useful, we can add more details about about the methodology and maybe making it more useful, for lack of
And
better words.
I agree. And let me give you the rationale for putting the taxonomy in the document in the first place. I've been looking at EINJ, and EINJ injects a infinitesimal fraction of the errors that I wish that it did. And so I'm scratching my head and saying I need some way to organize errors in a general way, a general enough way that it fits, a whole variety of SOCs and devices, but yet is, specific enough I can put in a specification. And so I don't even know if it's possible, but I'm just kind of grasping at straws saying, okay, if I were to expand EINJ to do more, what would it look like?
I mean,
So that was the
ENJ,
technicality.
ENJ does
Yeah,
let you do that. It just has a vendor defined error, right? And those end up
yeah.
being vendor specific, right?
So
Okay.
that's another place we need to go into future. But I think Vilas, this is the shaker time for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's
Okay.
exactly one minute past shaker time. Yeah.
So I want to point out one very, very, very quick thing. That is, I added a new section to the document called memory address translation. And if you've had a phone call with me, it's one of my favorite topics. So please take a look, but we need memory address translation too, physical to channel address. So anyway,
That would be part of the, yeah, that would be part of the memory error injection. We'd need that for that. Yeah, I agree.
yeah. Okay, please take a look. I love feedback. So, if you can jump into the doc and throw comments before you all hang up.
I did make some edits. I don't know if you noticed, but I should have done them in suggestion mode. But yeah, I did make some edits.
Was this shared? And I feel like I keep not getting emails. Drew, did you share this to the?
I did, and if you go look in the chat, I just pasted the link.
Okay.
I'll share it again. I'll try to email. I'll see if I can figure out how to email. I'll email it to the group again. But I just pasted the link. So if you click the link that I pasted in the chat for this meeting, you can get in.
Yes, I can get it. Okay, great.
Just want to-
I don't know. I think half the time those emails go to my spam filter in Outlook. So.
Okay.
So I just want to clarify something before I lose track of that. So Drew, you mentioned something. I want to make sure that we are on the same page. So there are two part of this whole injection. One is implanting the error, and the second part is triggering the error or consuming, or you can call
Sorry,
it,
what's the
triggering.
Sorry, what was the
triggering
second?
error, triggering the error.
Triggering. Okay. Oh, that's a good call. Yeah.
So as far as implanting the error is concerned, obviously it's just implanting. Means there should not be any effect of that except implanting. And then triggering is the event where the actual error is detected and propagated through the system.
Yeah. Could you?
Now,
I need to drop for my next meeting. I'm so sorry. Could you add that to the doc? No, just add it to the doc for next time. That'd be awesome. I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah, I think I added that in the very beginning, but maybe I will make it more clear.
Okay. And then, sorry, I need to drop for my next meeting. I got something today. But if you could add some stuff there or make that really clear with a heading, Anil, that is an extremely useful topic that we need to discuss. So, let's. I agree with you. No pushback at all.
So in this table, I did not put correctable error. Are you guys okay? If you are okay with this format, then I can add correctable error also, so that it becomes complete. I think Drew left, but if you guys okay, then I can.
I think Drew already left. So yeah, I don't have any objections to adding the correctable errors also. Anyone else?
Okay. And then I can clean up this further because these errors are also listed as a bullet point, so we don't need that bullet point, right? So we can just kind of remove that and just have one table.
Yeah. One last comment before I drop off. Hopefully they will release that GPU specifications signed soon, and there is already schemas defined for PCIe redfish schemas for error injection. We can leverage that work and improve further based on all this feedback. Okay, I'll try to push that. They will release the spec by next week. I just pulled them, so that
so Rama, that specification should not conflict with what we are doing here. In fact, what we are putting together is more of a superset of high-level requirements.
Yes.
I think what you're referring to is more specific to GPU injection, right?
Yeah, PCIe is in general, similar kind of requirements captured there. Hopefully, good, Anil. Yeah, just want to highlight that there is a further work done on what is the redfish schema for out of band error injection. All that is done.
Right.
There.
So that's the out of band. So yeah, I think so. That's a good point, right? This requirement, we are kind of trying to put a comprehensive requirement both for both methods, in-band using EINJ and then out-of-band using redfish approach.
Yeah.
And we will not describe further because if the spec that you're working on already is describing that, then it doesn't make sense to just duplicate the work.
So Rama, has it schema been proposed in DMDF?
Yeah, that is the next step. Right now, it's created as a OCP OEM
So,
types?
so since it's a DMTF proposal, it should be okay to bring it here for discussion, because I think we're trying to not do. We're trying to
Yeah.
lean more towards more comprehensive proposals rather than because this kind of point proposals become a problem later, right?
Yes.
So maybe
Yes.
if you can bring it here for discussion before it goes to the next step, it will be probably
Definitely.
help align
Yeah.
with
Before
the
In fact,
discussion,
I
right?
would argue that we should really discuss that first before it goes to DMTF, because
Yeah, that's what I'm
Could
asking
be,
for, right? I'm asking for bringing it here for our group feedback, right?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. That's why
Because,
I
I
keep
mean,
on.
we are the one who are defining the use cases, right? DMTF is
Yes.
really kind of going to be approving the formatting and all that.
Format.
Not even formatting, right? The protocol,
Yeah.
syntax,
What
how
are
to use. Yeah.
what are the attributes for
Yeah.
injection of the parameters?
Recently, we just for information, we shot down one such proposal which was almost ready to go through the MTS in FMFM because we thought it doesn't work with the comprehensive FMFM proposals that we're working with. The same way, I think we should avoid creating crash, and we should align, since we already know, we are aware that the majority of work is being done. Even if that proposal is ready, it should align with the work that's being done here. Just a request.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
All right, guys. Cheers to you, Vilas. See you all next week. Thank you, Anil.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for all our team members. I see a lot of folks from Hynix and ZT System were on the call. And
Scott was surprisingly quiet today.
yeah.
Roy just left. Scott, are you still here?
I think next week we will know which of the presentations got approved, right? So maybe we can discuss next week, next Friday.
Yeah. I think, and then John will let us know if we need to go and talk to the leadership about avoiding the crash. So we should prepare for that too.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Anil. Have a good weekend. Bye.